Good morning, I'm Peter Fuller and welcome to Griffith University's Queensland College of Art for a special Our Say event, brought to you by Griffith University in partnership with Quest Community Newspapers. The G20 will be in Brisbane this November. It will bring considerable international attention to our city, but what does it mean for our community? 4 weeks ago, Griffith University opened it up to you to ask the Lord Mayor of Brisbane, Graham Quirk, anything you liked about the G20. We received a range of responses, from the cost of hosting this event to the ability to protest, right through to residential disruptions. As we couldn't ask him all your questions, we opened it up to popular vote, and after 525 votes were cast, we'll be putting the top 3 questions to the Lord Mayor, who kindly joins us this morning. He needs no introduction, but for those watching outside of Queensland, Lord Mayor Graham Quirk was elected to Brisbane City Council in 1985 as councillor for the Rochdale ward in Brisbane South. He was 27 years old. 3 years later, he made the city's finance chairman under the Lord Mayor Sally Ann Atkinson, later taking on the role of works chairman. Following the 2008 election, Councillor Quirk took on the roles of deputy mayor and chairman of the infrastructure committee. Following former Lord Mayor Campbell Newman's departure for state politics in 2011, Councillor Quirk was appointed the new Lord Mayor of Brisbane. He was elected to the job in his own right on the 28th of April 2012 for a 4-year term. Now, the format today will be straightforward. I will ask the Lord Mayor the top 3 questions as asked on the Our Say platform in order of most voted. Our winning question is from Sarah Moran. It came in first with 134 votes.
From the development of South Bank to the iconic Stephen Needle, Expo 88 has left Brisbane with a legacy that's lasted more than 30 years. In what ways will the G20 contribute to the history of Brisbane in the short, medium and long term?
Well, Sarah, thank you very much for that question. I think it's fair to say that the Expo 88, which was a real game changer for Brisbane, and the G20 are very, very different events. In terms of Expo 88, obviously we had enormous public participation. People could go along and venture into the various cultures that Expo 88 presented. And it was, in every respect, I think, a coming of age of Brisbane. It was an awakening of the global opportunities that existed for Brisbane. And every year since then, I think our city has embarked on just a transitional change to the emerging global city that we are today. Now, G20, by contrast, I see it more as an event which is an opportunity for our city of Brisbane to become better known. It's an event which isn't going to see the average person out there in our city of Brisbane involved directly with G20. But what it does do is that it's a statement which leaves Brisbane as the capital city of the world for those 3 days in November. It's an opportunity for us as a city to tell the world that this is a city now where we have reached a point where global leaders are able to come here for a very significant international event. And so, to take advantage of that, as a city we've been out there for the last 12 months now and more, with 3,000 billboards in every part of the world. We've been in Barcelona and Madrid, we've been in Paris and London and Shanghai and Hong Kong and Singapore, a whole host of other places across the globe, simply saying, Brisbane, Australia's new world city, G20. And this has been an opportunity. I have this saying that if people don't know the name of your city, they can't visit it. If they don't know the name of your city, they certainly won't invest in it. And the reality is that by comparison to our southern counterparts of Sydney and Melbourne, Brisbane still does struggle in terms of people identifying our city on the global stage. So this is a very different event to Expo 88, but it's a great opportunity and one which we need to grab hold of.
Lord Mayor, do you think that given there won't be an infrastructure investment like Expo 88, like the Commonwealth Games, do you think we're looking for a different kind of legacy, which is what Sarah was getting at? What do you hope to see in the long term on the back of this?
Well, I think one of the opportunities that we will have is for greater tourism into the future. And again, these things are all about jobs. The more people that visit our city, it opens up more opportunities. Often tourists become later investors. But from a local perspective as well, things like, for example, the rollout of free Wi-Fi in the Queen Street Mall, across the Victoria Bridge in South Bank itself. There's 250 businesses that have now decided to come on board with free Wi-Fi as well. And very recently I announced that we'd also have free Wi-Fi in the Brunswick Street Mall and Chinatown Mall in advance of the G20 as well.
So perhaps the infrastructure will be smaller given a smaller scale event?
Absolutely, and I mean it is of a nature that won't see any sort of major sort of transformation of the city. I think it is more about the global recognition of respectability that the global leaders are meeting here, and also those indirect opportunities that'll come over time.
Do you think you saw that on the back of Toronto, for example, a similar kind of city to Brisbane?
Yeah, I mean, there were some issues in Toronto, and I think one of the benefits of the G20 here is that we've had a much longer lead time than other cities have previously. And that's why, as a city government, we've been able to capitalise on that and put forward that, you know, those billboards and other avenues such as the Choose Brisbane campaign globally, so that our name recognition does rise.
So hopefully what you've done now will have a good impact in the future for the city.
That's exactly what it's about, Peter. It's making sure that through tourism, through more business and convention meetings in our city, we will see future investment, and that of course creates jobs. Every $1 million of investment in our city creates 7 jobs.
Look, we'll move on to the next question. Our second question with 70 votes was from Pete W.
Hi, my name's Mike O'Connell, speaking for Peter Wade and Karina, Citizens-Owned Renewable Energy Network of Australia. Our question is, has the Brisbane City Council taken steps to ensure that Brisbane takes an active role in the G20? Perhaps it can highlight the absence of climate change on the agenda by announcing some ambitious, future-friendly clean energy vision. What are your thoughts generally on a city administration and a Lord Mayor's role in tackling climate change, and what is your opinion on its importance to the world stage? And should it be on the G20 agenda? Thank you.
Well, Mike, thank you very much, Mike, for that question. Look, I think obviously the agenda itself is set by the global leaders. And so as Lord Mayor of Brisbane, I don't have an input directly into that. We're a supporting act in terms of the G20. It's an event which is run primarily at a national level with the support of the state agencies and to a lesser extent again Brisbane City Council. So in regards to influencing the agenda, that is not an easy task from a Lord Mayoral perspective. What I can say, of course, is that one of the things we're doing in advance of G20 to give a greater opportunity for debate is that we're bringing together, by way of a global cafe, futurists. We're bringing together global thinkers towards a whole range of issues, things like improving human life, things like the digital age, empowering global economies. We're looking at things like the transitioning of and vitality of tourism, a whole range of things around that. And part of that discussion is also going to be about the future of cities. That area is one where issues such as carbon footprints that cities create, global warming issues, will very much be a part of that discussion and debate. As a city government, we probably lead Australia in terms of governments. We have a 100% green power purchase of our operations. We have carbon offsets in relation to our vehicle fleet, the bus fleet, and also our motor vehicle fleet. We're in the business of buying bushland each and every year, transforming that and putting that from private ownership to public ownership for future generations. And we have a vision of a 40% green cover for our city, which we're working towards, and that's enhanced in our recently delivered city plan. So these are things that we do as a city government, and through action rather than simply words and debates, we're putting that into practice as a city government.
Given the continued increase, I guess, the international pressure, clearly this is an important issue, global warming is an important issue for people, and they want to see it on the agenda. Don't you think it should be discussed at some level here?
Well, again, I think there will be an opportunity through the Global Cafe. The reality is with the G20 leaders themselves, they are a small group of people. What Global Cafe will do is to broaden the debate to a much broader section of the community. So you're going to have people like Professor Ian Fraser, people like Greg Clark, who is renowned internationally on the development of cities. These types of speakers and many other people from around the globe are part of the 4,000 delegates, for example, that are coming in conjunction with G20 can be involved in this along with international journalists. And we can formulate through the Global Cafe our own debate around these issues.
Personally, are you disappointed that it's not on the agenda at this time?
Well, I mean, it's an issue clearly, but I mean, it's the global leaders have got to make their own call on this in terms of where they see the future, what are the priorities in terms of their short time in this city, and again, I mean, I can have a view, but it's about what they determine in the end that counts.
So will you be pushing the Global Cafe yourself personally to work through the issue there?
Well, my word. And the Global Cafe has also been endorsed by the Council of Mayors in South East Queensland, so all of our councils through the Council of Mayors are contributing to this event. And we're going to have some worldwide speakers engaged in this event. It will be a real opportunity for a broad-based debate on a whole range of issues that the global leaders simply through time will not have the opportunity to debate.
Great, thank you. And we'll move on to our third winning question with 66 votes. This was Vu Tran.
Lord Mayor, as a Brisbane-based business owner looking to scale globally, I'd like to ask how your plans for economic development will leverage the G20 to benefit businesses with substantial growth plans.
Well, thank you very much, Vu, for that question. I mean, clearly Brisbane has an economic development plan. It was a plan which was developed by Brisbane businesses. We had an engagement with several hundred businesses in putting that plan together. Now, I think the Global Cafe, again, is an opportunity. One of those topics will be powering future economies. And they talk about cities being the economic powerhouses that drive nations, and that's very much the case. Cities are no longer simply about the roads, rates and rubbish of the past. So the economic development plan covers things like, for example, the digital transition of our economy. It covers things like, obviously, tourism growth. It covers things like importance of business and convention meetings in our city. But like any new business that's wanting to go global, it is a case of getting those networks necessary to deliver upon that. The Global Cafe will provide that opportunity to engage with many people internationally, people that are in positions of influence in various nations around the globe. As well as that, as a city, we also provide an opportunity for businesses each year by way of a business mission. And last year, our business mission created some $230 million of investment in our city to date, more to come. And so that's an opportunity. Once each year, a business mission is undertaken by this city to ensure that businesses have an opportunity to get into those global markets, to get the doors open that are necessary for their businesses. And that's an avenue that you ought to consider as well.
Lord Mayor, do you think that the G20 will open any more business missions? I mean, you go to China quite frequently already. Is there anywhere else that you'd like to go in the future?
We do each sister city once during the term. So this particular year, we're doing Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. We're doing Hyderabad in India, Shanghai, which is a sister state with Queensland, and Singapore. Singapore because there's a lot of hotel investment, particularly 4- and 5-star hotel investment in our city, which we badly needed. So as I mentioned previously, we've sort of seen 550 new 4- and 5-star beds in Brisbane this year. More to come after the G20 is complete.
There wouldn't be anywhere else you'd be looking to expand that partnership? You're sufficient with where we are now, I guess? Well,
we see our future in the Asia Pacific, and so all of our sister city relationships exist there, with Shenzhen and Chongqing, of course, within China, and Kaohsiung in Taiwan, Auckland in New Zealand. We have Kobe in Japan, Abu Dhabi, I've mentioned previously. We have Daejeon in South Korea. So all of these are markets where our local business people can go to, be involved, knowing that as a city government we can get those doors open for them because of the relationships we have.
Fantastic, great. And we'll move on to the wildcard question now. It was asked by Rachel Mackey.
As we know, leaders of the world come together at the G20 so that they may take decisive action towards improving people's lives. This led me to think critically about the notion of leadership. Lord Mayor, I would like to know, how do you conceptualise the meaning of leadership, and how could leaders of the world benefit from your understanding?
I've always said about leadership that there is a fine line between leadership and stupidity. And I use that statement because leadership is about making sure that you push the agenda forward, making sure that you are continually challenging your community, taking the community on a journey to where we need to be in a better place. Now, I use the word stupidity because if you push that agenda too fast, too hard, to a point where people will no longer follow you, then that's where you're no longer a leader. You're only a leader while people will follow. And so you've got to keep edging forward, keep challenging, but not make it so fast that people will no longer go with you on that journey. But it is about making sure that you have a clear vision of what you're wanting to achieve, and then having a plan as to how to implement that vision. And that's one of the things that we've set about in Brisbane. It's not just about the economy, it's not just about the jobs for the future, but I've had a clear vision about making this city an accessible and inclusive city. It's about making sure that everyone in this city can be a part of it, can be involved in it to the very fullest. And so it's being clear about what you want, the journey that you're wanting to take. That is the clear thing that you need about leadership.
Is there anyone that you've been inspired by over your years in politics?
Well, there's a number of people that I have observed, obviously, and in the early years, it would probably a lesser known politician, but somebody by the name of Bill Knox, who was a very humble politician, a very pragmatic politician who understood the need to be, for the journey to be in sizable chunks where the people won't say that's ridiculous and stop following you.
And are there any global leaders that you would like to meet through this process?
Well, obviously, Rudy Giuliani was probably the leader that had the greatest impact on me. I met Rudy a couple of months after I became Lord Mayor and had quite a bit of time with him during his time at an Asian Pacific City Summit here in Brisbane. And I think the fact that he had been through what was a disaster for his city through the terrorism attack and bringing his city out of that, I mean, there was a lot of tips in that, a lot of learnings that I'll carry with me the rest of my life.
Anyone on the agenda that you're excited to meet with?
Well, again, I'm not sure. I don't know who I'll be meeting. But
take all the opportunities?
Well, absolutely, if they present themselves. And I mean, we've got a new Indian Prime Minister, for example, who has achieved an outright majority, the first time in a long time in India, a very popular leader. It would be, I think, again, an opportunity to learn from what he has to say.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. Thank you very much for watching. You can find out more about this at questnewspapers.com.au. And I think that's all for today. Thank you very much.